Have you ever tried a system that promised to fix everything, like a new diet, planner, or budgeting method? Maybe you've stood in the aisle at a bookstore, flipping through the pages of a fresh journal, or downloaded the latest budgeting app, convinced this time will be different. You dive in, full of hope, and at first, it feels empowering. There's a sense of control, a belief that if you just follow the steps, everything will fall into place. But soon, the rules start to feel restrictive, and what was meant to help becomes another source of stress. Maybe you miss a day tracking expenses, or an unexpected bill throws off your careful plan. Suddenly, you're blaming yourself for not fitting into the system, when maybe the system was never built for real life. I remember once, after a week of sticking to a zero-based budget, my partner and I got hit with a surprise car repair. Our perfect plan unraveled in minutes. This is especially true with money. We want to believe that if we just find the right method, we'll finally feel secure. We chase the perfect budget, thinking it'll solve everything, but life doesn't fit into neat boxes. Kids get sick, jobs change, birthdays pop up, and suddenly your categories don't make sense anymore. Managing money is personal and emotional, not just numbers on a screen. I've seen friends feel ashamed for failing at a budget, when really, they were just living life. A rigid budget can make you feel like you're failing, when really, it's the system that's failing you. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. No matter how hard you try, it just doesn't work. The goal isn't perfection, it's financial wholeness. It's about feeling confident and calm, even when things don't go as planned. You need a plan that supports your real life, not one that grades you for every unexpected expense. Imagine a system that bends with you instead of breaking your spirit. If you've ever felt trapped by your budget, you're not alone. We've all been there, wondering if we're the problem, when maybe it's the plan that needs to change. Let me share the story of a couple who found freedom by letting go of the perfect plan and discovered a way to make money work for their real life. Meet Sarah and Ben, a couple in their 30s, both with good jobs, big dreams, and a shared love for Sunday morning pancakes. On the surface, everything looked fine, but beneath it all, money was a constant source of tension, sometimes simmering, sometimes boiling over. They juggled student loan debt, car payments, and the occasional, "How did we spend so much on takeout?" moment. Sarah was a saver, always tracking every penny. Ben? He liked to enjoy life. "We work hard, let's treat ourselves," he'd say. Conversations about money were often tense or avoided altogether. "We need to talk about the credit card bill," Sarah would start. Ben would sigh, "Can we do this later?" They wanted to be a team, to get on the same page. So they searched for the right system, reading reviews, downloading apps, even trying envelope budgeting for a week. That's when they discovered zero-based budgeting, assigning every dollar a job. It sounded like the answer to their prayers. The logic was appealing, the promise of control irresistible. They dove in, convinced this was the answer. They read articles, watched videos, and built their first budget together. Color-coded, detailed, and full of hope. The structure felt empowering. For the first time, they believed this would finally end their money stress. They were excited, motivated, and ready for change. The system seemed foolproof. But real life had other plans, unexpected expenses, old habits, and new challenges waiting just around the corner. Zero-based budgeting means every dollar has a purpose, nothing left unassigned. For Sarah and Ben, this was more than a system. It was a fresh start. The first month felt like a revelation. Every evening, they'd sit together, coffee in hand, and review their progress, sometimes even turning it into a mini date night. They built a spreadsheet from scratch, tracked every purchase, and celebrated small wins, like finding an extra $20 in the grocery category or resisting a late-night takeout splurge. It felt empowering. Sarah felt secure, Ben felt motivated, and they even set aside fun money for spontaneous adventures. The excitement was contagious. They stuck to the plan, spent less than expected, and made extra loan payments. Each milestone felt like a shared victory. The sense of victory was real. They'd toast to their progress, feeling like a true team. This was the honeymoon phase. The rules felt supportive, the results were immediate, and their dreams suddenly felt within reach. They felt smart, disciplined, and in control. Every day brought a new reason to feel proud. They even started recommending the system to friends, eager to share their newfound optimism and success. Communication improved, savings grew, and they couldn't imagine going back. The future looked bright. But as with all honeymoons, reality was waiting around the corner. The system worked until life got messy. And life always gets messy. The second month, reality hit hard. Suddenly, the tidy numbers on their spreadsheet collided with the messiness of real life. Ben's car needed new tires, an expense not in the budget. "How are we supposed to pay for this?" Ben muttered, staring at the estimate from the mechanic. Using their emergency fund felt like failure. Sarah's thoughts raced. Are we already messing this up? Moving money around made her anxious, as if every adjustment was a sign they couldn't stick to the plan. Their perfect spreadsheet was suddenly messy. "I thought we planned for everything," Sarah whispered, her voice tight. Then came a last-minute bachelorette trip for Sarah. No category for that. "I can't just not go," she texted her friend, but the guilt gnawed at her. The conversation with Ben was tense. "The budget says no," he said quietly. "But I know you want to go." Resentment started to build, unspoken but heavy in the room. More surprises followed. A wedding gift, a high utility bill, a spontaneous dinner out when neither of them could face another night of leftovers. Each one chipped away at their confidence. Each time they had to shuffle numbers, feeling like they were breaking promises to themselves. Why does this feel like cheating? Sarah wondered. The process became stressful and exhausting. "I'm so tired of talking about money," Ben admitted one night. Weekly budget meetings turned into dreaded chores. "Can we skip it this week?" Sarah pleaded, but the guilt lingered. The joy was gone, replaced by a sense of failure. "We're supposed to be a team," Ben thought, "but this just feels like work." They were so focused on the spreadsheet, they lost sight of living. "Are we missing out on life just to balance a budget?" Sarah wondered. The budget became a barrier, not a tool. "This isn't what we wanted," Ben said quietly. Strict rules left no room for spontaneity or joy. "It's like we're punishing ourselves for trying to be responsible," Sarah thought. Their perfect plan was turning into a nightmare. The more they tried to control every dollar, the more out of control they felt. The constant tracking took a heavy toll, especially on Sarah. Night after night, she'd sit at the kitchen table, her shoulders tense, surrounded by receipts and spreadsheets that seemed to multiply no matter how hard she tried to keep up. She became the household's financial manager, obsessively updating spreadsheets and worrying about every single category. Each mistake felt like a personal failure. The mental load was overwhelming. Sarah started waking up in the middle of the night, replaying transactions in her mind, afraid she'd missed something important. Every purchase felt scrutinized, turning her into the money police. She hated the role, but couldn't seem to let go. Communication faded, replaced by avoidance and quiet resentment. Arguments about money became more frequent, but so did the silences, each one heavier than the last. The budget highlighted what she couldn't do, fueling guilt and a constant sense of scarcity. Sarah felt left out, watching friends enjoy things she had to decline. Spontaneity disappeared. Every treat or outing became a source of anxiety. Even small joys like dessert at a cafe felt like forbidden luxuries. A budget should be a plan for freedom, not a tool for shame. They missed the days when money was just a means, not a measure of their worth. Hyper-detailed systems ignore our emotions and humanity. The relentless focus on numbers left no room for compassion or mistakes. We're not robots. We need flexibility and joy. The best moments were the ones when they let go, even briefly, of the pressure to be perfect. The stress was outweighing the benefits. For Sarah and her partner, something had to change, because peace of mind is worth more than perfect accounting. The breaking point came during a dreaded budget check-in. The air was thick with tension as Ben scrolled through their spreadsheet, his voice barely above a whisper. Ben finally admitted, "I can't do this anymore, Sarah. I feel like we're drowning in numbers, not living our lives." Sarah nodded, her voice trembling. "I know. I miss us just being together, not always worrying about every dollar." In that moment, they made a choice. Together, they closed the spreadsheet and deleted the app, hands shaking, hearts pounding. The immediate feeling was relief, not panic. It was as if a weight had been lifted. "What if we just trust ourselves for a while?" Ben asked, half joking, half hopeful. For the first time in months, they just lived, ordering pizza, laughing, and enjoying each other's company without guilt or second-guessing. They didn't abandon their goals. Instead, they decided to check in weekly, just to talk about how they felt, not just what they spent. "Let's focus on the big picture," Sarah suggested. "We know what matters. Let's not sweat the small stuff." Bills got paid, loans were addressed, but the tiny details stopped ruling their days. They set up auto pay for essentials and agreed to check their accounts just once a week. They reconnected, talking about dreams and plans instead of budget line items. The tension that had built up for months finally lifted. This break showed them the world wouldn't fall apart without strict tracking. They realized their relationship and well-being mattered more than perfect numbers. Their financial well-being wasn't tied to a rigid system. It was about trust, communication, and balance. Emotional sustainability, they realized, mattered more than mathematical perfection. They gave themselves permission to be imperfect. They were ready for a new, gentler approach, one that honored both their goals and their happiness. After their break, Sarah and Ben embraced a softer, values-based budget, one that prioritized their well-being over rigid rules. They started by having honest conversations about what truly mattered, paying off loans, saving for a home, and making space for joy in their lives. They shifted their mindset from "every dollar must be tracked" to "every dollar should have a purpose." Instead of obsessing over receipts, they reflected together each month, asking, "Did our spending reflect our values? Did we feel good about our choices?" Automation became their ally. Savings and debt payments happened in the background, freeing up mental space. What was left was theirs to live on, divided into just a few broad categories like essentials, goals, and everything else. The everything else category allowed for fun and spontaneity, impromptu date nights, a new book, or a weekend getaway, without guilt or second guessing. They learned to trust themselves, knowing their priorities were already covered. Over time, new habits formed, regular check-ins, celebrating small wins, and letting go of perfection. Sarah felt secure, Ben felt free, and their relationship grew stronger. They found that budgeting could be a source of connection, not conflict. If your budget makes you anxious or ashamed, remember, it's not your fault. The system should fit your life, not the other way around. Try customizing your categories, automating what you can, and focusing on progress, not perfection. For many, a flexible, values-based approach is the key to peace. It's okay to adjust as your life changes. The goal is to feel supported, not restricted. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. Find a system that feels like a supportive friend, one that helps you live your values and enjoy your life. Your peace of mind is worth it.